Okay, let's make this short and sweet just because it's midnight and the movie was 3 hours long.
Was it went by kind of fast for me? I closed my eyes and it was over.
It actually didn't. It did feel like 3 hours, but I was never really bored. I guess it was just very talky. Like he did this, he moved. It's a lot of like politics. There's a lot more politics in there. So yeah, of course the movie is about Oppenheimer. He created the atom bomb. And I don't know if he helped with the hydrogen bomb. They kind of mentioned that he did. I could be wrong about that. Of course, it's about Oppenheimer, and I thought it was just going to be strictly about the bomb making, which it really is, a good chunk of the movie. But it dives into his personal life, really dives into his personal life.
Yeah.
And politics, a lot of politics, because I don't know the history of communism becoming like a scare in the United States. I thought it was post World War II, not really leading up to World War II. But in here, everyone was a communist. Apparently, it was super cool to be a communist back in the day when you're young. They give you cards and shit, and everyone is there for...
wasn't so scary until after the Soviets really tried it for the first time.
The movie is in no means in chronological order, so they're kind of going here to 52 to 49 to 42 to like back and forth. But what I really love in here is when they dive into the physics. It's very interesting to me. So at the beginning, they're talking about suns and stuff like that. Albert Einstein makes an appearance multiple times.
You see retired Albert.
Right.
He's just kind of doing his own thing.
Very fat. And
he's too happy for
he's being
like
a
everyone
friend
else who's like a pessimist from blowing up the world.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, my hat.
Yeah, and he is the elder, I guess, or the
kind of opened the door to this. He said he wasn't like strong enough to go into the world he created, the quantum world or something.
Right.
That's what Oppenheimer said.
Oppenheimer brought quantum physics into America because he went abroad and he started learning all this stuff that apparently was really big. Germans got a hold of their quantum physics because they were working on the bomb. Cillian Murphy, I think, killed it in here. I don't know if I've ever seen a movie where Murphy was the main character. I thought he did really, really good. Also, Robert Downey Jr. did really, really good. Robert Downey Jr. has more money than God, and he decided to do a movie like this. So I do have to kind of give him props for that. Almost every person in this movie is like a big actor. Did you notice that? Holy shit, that's that actor. Holy shit, it's that actor. And sometimes
this is one of those movies. This movie definitely gets awards because
for sure. Look at that. You got Jack Quaid, Emily Blunt, of course. Those are the big names. Matt Damon, Rami Malek. You got Josh Peck. All these other people that I'm not 100%. Yeah, and
Casey Affleck.
There's so many people in here. I feel like the extras were giant actors. There were so many like cameos in here. So I did hear that there was no CGI in this movie, but clearly there's some parts in here where CGI was needed. Like when the earth was burning, I'm sure there might be a way to do that practically. When you see the particles, remember those shots where you see the particles racing back and forth and moving?
Visualizes the complex things.
Right. And him breaking down of what quantum physics is that we're tricked that physical matter is a thing because atoms collect together, but there is space between particles and stuff like that. So I love it where they explain it to the audience. That makes more sense. The part that kind of lost me a little bit was when it dived into his personal life. And every relationship Oppenheimer had, at least portrayed in this movie, was toxic, and I couldn't relate to it, and I didn't want to. And you know what? Good on Nolan for not churching it up, because it was toxic as fuck. Oppenheimer cheated.
He was into the dirty girl.
Isn't it funny how he cheated on the first chick with the new chick, and then he cheated on the new chick with the old chick. So he cheated on both one with the other. One was like insane and it didn't treat him good. He brought her flowers, threw him away. She's like was psycho. She like only wanted to have sex with him if he was, or she only got off if he like demonstrated his brain power. I don't know. There was a lot of weird stuff in there. Yeah, so I mean, me personally, I didn't really care about the personal part of his life, but it is called Oppenheimer, so they're gonna go through it. It's based on a book, so they're gonna get all the aspects of his life. But the parts I actually did like was when they talked about the politics, and mainly early on when they were talking about how he's a New Deal Democrat. Remember how he said that? Where he allows his students to talk about unions, talk about political stuff or whatever, and there's teachers telling him that he needs to knock that stuff off. So I did like that. He's pretty much a progressive. If you're
very politically involved.
If you're a New Deal Democrat, you're progressive, to me, at least. And yeah, he emboldened his students not to just learn about physics, but the real world. And I'm pretty sure he wrapped in there somewhere that he said politics is like the physics of human beings' lives, like social lives. So I did like that. I like the politics of it all. And I'm not talking about, the United States government hunting down communists. I'm talking about Oppenheimer being a lefty, pretty much. Like, he was a lefty.
He pretty much was a communist, too.
Right.
I mean, him and everyone, his family, everyone around him were known communists. And that was a whole third of the movie, and is them denying that they were involved with this club, that club, trying to find the rat for the Russians and stuff, which turned out to be a British guy.
So there is a part in here where I was like super confused, where he drops off his kid because it's too much. Okay, I get it that being home with a child is like anguish, and I could never understand actually of how bad it is, but she was an alcoholic. And she neglects the child. Obviously, we see that in here where she's neglecting the child. And then his solution is not to go in there and comfort the baby to calm him down. He goes to a friend's house and he goes, "Here, take it."
He's not really human.
Yeah, and they kind of said that. He goes, "It's okay. You're a god. You have so much on your shoulders. I understand." Like,
you're human enough. You're human enough to fuck a chick, but you're not human enough to raise your own child.
Exactly.
And he did parties and stuff.
Yeah, he wasn't parties.
He wasn't an introvert completely through and through. Back then, scientists were pretty good partiers.
But granted, he did take the child back eventually, but I don't know how long that time period was. The kid wasn't that grown up. It could have been a few months. We don't know. But still, to me, I was just like, why are they kind of pieces of shit? Like, obviously, they weren't perfect, and I love how Nolan kind of shows that it's not churchy, like, oh my god, he's amazing. Because the point of this movie really is that he creates a beautiful monster, right? He is Frankenstein. It works, and that's the problem. And he kind of realizes it. Not when it goes off and it's a success, is that as soon as the military go, okay, they pulled it off. And they grab it and they take it out of their little town, and then that's it. And then
make it bigger.
Yeah. And then he hears about it and he's waiting. He's pacing back and forth. He's really irritated. Call him. Get him on the phone. No, but Truman's on the radio right now talking about how they just bombed Hiroshima. And then I think that's when it hits him, is like, oh yeah, that's right. We're making a weapon. And this weapon is literally changed the world. And it did change the world. And they were contemplating if it was going to set off a chain reaction and destroy the whole world, set fire to the atmosphere. And it didn't do that. But at the end, he said it kind of did through, through society. Like, it did in a way.
It was a chain reaction.
It was a chain reaction. Because now the Russians want that. And the Russians did get it. And then we made bigger ones. They made big ones. And now we're a point where we could destroy this planet like 10 times over. So Oppenheimer, he was true. It is true. What he feared, it did come true. And now it just takes one person to shoot one now. And now what? Hiroshima and Nagasaki were the only nuclear bombs that were dropped. And pray to God that they're the only ones that dropped. Because now we have superpowers. One person has it, they'll shoot theirs, and then other people shoot theirs, and in that chain reaction, everyone dies. So that's what I think the great part about this movie is that he was so enthusiastic about his work, and he was so dedicated, and he was hardworking, and he got it done, and then he saw what it did to human beings, and then it started like collapsing on him, and he realized it.
I wish we got to see a little bit like actual footage of it. He just kind of looks at a chick and sees a vision of her skin flapping on her face. And that's the real only visual we get on. He steps on like an ashed body, steps right through it,
in a vision, like him freaking
yeah,
out.
It's all in his head.
Right.
There's a scene where he's looking at slides of what happened, and you don't get to see it. You just kind of see his reaction. And he only looks at one picture in that scene. He looks away after the first picture, and he goes, and the next one, and he's not even looking.
He can't look at it. After the first one, he can't look at it. And they're describing through the background, the guy showing the slides about how...
I think it would have been good if it was just like a flash. People would go,
right.
Whoa.
That's all you'd really need. They were talking about people who had striped clothing. They were burned in stripes.
They were burnt into the walls.
Right. They were vaporized into the walls, and the people that survived thought that they were okay. And you can make an argument that they died worse deaths. And we all know that it only got worse from there. And we see Truman in here, played by Gary Oldman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's a punk. He's an asshole. And Oppenheimer's like, what was he arguing to Truman? That he was saying that we need to get rid of the town that they made the atomic bomb, and they were kind of like, no, we need to make more now. Like, they were addicted to the power.
And he told him he had blood on his hands.
And he gave him a handkerchief. He was like, clean it
up,
bitch. Yeah.
He's like, oh, I did it. They don't care about you
because
you made it. I'm the one who dropped it on them. And it's true.
It is true. Man. And then what did he say when Oppenheimer was walking out? Don't let that crybaby back in here. So awesome they made him an asshole. So I would say the third act, which is probably the biggest chunk and the one that was probably the hardest to get through, which was the court hearings. Not court hearings, they were cabinet hearings for Robert Downey Jr.'s character Louis Strauss. And he started becoming the villain.
He was one of the bigger characters that I still don't really understand.
Right. There was so much going on.
I get the rivalry, but I just kept coming back. He got humiliated once by Oppenheimer. Yeah. Once.
Robert Downey Jr.'s character, Louis Strauss, his cabinet was atomic whatever research, right? Like, he was technically the leader of the program, but he's not a scientist. He's a politician. And he hated how scientists were kind of, like, making him look bad. Doing politician shit. So he starts working behind the scenes to pretty much ruin the reputation of Oppenheimer. And he's in a cabinet hearing. He's trying to get into Eisenhower's administration. Maybe, I'm not sure. But the whole ending part is someone comes forward, and it's Rami Malek's character, David Hill, that pretty much says, yeah, Strauss kind of came out, or behind the scenes ruined his reputation because A, B, and C, and blah, blah, blah. There was so much going on there that I couldn't retain it all. I just know that he didn't like him because he made him look bad, and that he's a scientist and he's not. And he wanted to ruin his reputation because I think Oppenheimer is like a vocal, big voice about not using these things anymore, and how he kind of regrets doing this whole thing. And that we need to cut back instead of go, full force with it, which is what happened, obviously. And I think Strauss just kind of felt intimidated or humiliated by Oppenheimer, so his goal was to destroy his reputation. No, actually, he didn't really, because he didn't get into the cabinet. And they name drop JFK. He was one of the senators.
One of the three.
Yeah, in Massachusetts. Yeah, and denied him his seat in the administration.
I don't even understand what significance or difference that made in history. Couldn't really tell you, because he never was a person of interest in a cabinet or not. But even if he was, I don't know if that was a good thing, or if it actually would have been bad for all of America.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know, because there's a time where he's in the movie and he's talking about the Russian tests, where they're doing their bomb tests. He's got a graph.
Right.
So it seems like he was in the loop of important shit going on in the world, and he didn't seem like he was leading people, deathly astray.
Right.
I like Matt Damon's character, too.
Yeah, I thought he was kind of going to be the prick of the army prick. Like, get to work or whatever. And he would come in and kind of like, you know,
he kind of grounded it out for us dummies a little bit when he came in. He kind of dumbed things down for us because he's not really a scientist in here. He's kind of like he graduated MIT, I guess.
No one wanted to follow those rules. Did you notice that? Like everybody's like, strict lockdown, no one leaves. I'm going to Chicago. All right, well, fine.
Yeah, okay. I mean, technically, yeah. I mean, Oppenheimer was sneaking around cheating on his wife when, you know, the Russians really wanted to know what was going on. And they did. They did breach the town. They did breach it.
They got the information.
They got in there, and it's not really a shock. I mean, everyone's leaving every other weekend to go bowling and whatnot. And
that's why I was so confused, because I thought the dude who started talking about the fusion bomb, the hydrogen bomb, he was the spy, and that's why she didn't want to shake his hand. But no, it was the other guy. But he came up with the hydrogen bomb idea versus the fission bomb, which is the atom bomb. I think it is a story I think is going to sink into people's brains, especially if you're able to concentrate and collect all of it, which there is a lot of stuff they throw at here, like all the nuance and the fine details of the politicians, his personal life, the physics, all of it. Especially the politics at the end, where they just kind of throw you out, where there's like 2 different hearings going on. And they just dive deep into his entire life. So it is about Oppenheimer. It's not just about the atom bomb. Of course, that's the goal of the movie, but it's like
he's got his love life, his political life,
his remorse of making the bomb, and all that stuff. The politics is a big part of it. Yeah. So I would definitely recommend people go see this. It is long. And
I'd go to an earlier showing.
Yes. But towards the end, it started to drag along with all the hearings and stuff. But then at the end, it did, like, it was a nice ending for me. Like, I did it, and it got me thinking, and it's still going to get me thinking. And it's a big movie, and a lot of people in it. It's a biopic, so it's important. And at the end, real quick, just to end it off, where he talks to Albert Einstein. We talked about this, how he said it could set off a chain reaction. He goes, I think it did. And then he has a vision of nukes flying through the air. Probably his worst fear, especially towards when he died. I don't know when he died, but I'm sure he saw the bombs that we've made. And the bombs that we have now probably dwarf that. And now we have the technology to send hundreds of them out. So we could destroy the world. And now, it's a little bit more scary to me now after seeing the movie. Just to see where it started and where we're at now.
Innovation and military use will never, ever be separated. It will always be together forever. Mm-hmm. And that's actually very scary because it's not just the nukes and stuff, but the AI stuff that just got cracked not that long ago. And even if you make these things and you work for the military like that, they can turn on you in an instant.
Right.
Like these guys. So it's always going to be used. It seems like the most intense inventions will always be used in any way it wants to be used by the most powerful people.
Right. So there was a part in here, because originally they made it for Germany, because it was a race of the quantum physics. Exactly. So they made it for Germany, and then who was it that said, well, now we don't need it anymore? And he goes, that's not how
you make it.
Weapons manufacturing works. Right. It's not because there's a special enemy. It's just to make it. And let's face it, that the atom bomb did make, probably, like, America was already kind of becoming like a world superpower, but that atomic bomb was like a cheat code that changed it even more.
No one had another one at that time.
Right.
No one has used it since.
Yeah, everyone was scared of it.
Even Russia. And I'm actually getting scared. I feel like, maybe the Ukraine thing may be pushing more towards a crazy nut job in Russia to say fuck it and just do it again.
That's all it takes, too. One fuck it.
Yeah, it really does. Truman was probably giddy over it.
Yeah. Get that crybaby out of here. All right. Yes, it did kind of drag on, but I feel like if I rewatch this with the subtitles on and rewatch a couple scenes a couple of times...
I will give them the audio is actually decent.
Yes. The audio was good this time. Good job, Christopher Nolan, for firing your last mic guy.
The guy you've been with your entire
career. Audio guy. But I feel like the message hit hard with me, just like the fear of it, and that the creator of this monster had remorse for it, and he then spent a lot of his time kind of fighting against it and using it and building upon it and whatnot. So I think it was a good story, and it's a true story. Alright guys, that was our review for Oppenheimer. I suggest you go see it. Definitely worth it to me. And like you said, go to an earlier showing. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one.